Hey guys, it's Parker here, about good part 33 of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So yeah, we're continuing the witness testimony for this liar here. So I actually bought Shin Megami Tensei 5 this week, so I'm actually pretty excited to play that. I'll play it on my own time. And then I even bought Pokemon Shining Pearl, but like I'm not really sure whether I want to record that or not, whether I just want to play or not. But yeah, anyway, back to the game here. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks, but why would Grayson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? That's all he's going to say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Bruno? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from those witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers. Yes, they were the key to it after all. So he says he had nothing to do with Winniebanks. Well, we know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Good idea. You never know, a tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. Okay, I'm gonna present some evidence because you know that is not true. You're literally there to steal a music box disc.
Objection!
Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is this supposed to mean something? This disc was until the day of the murder in pawn in Mr. Winniebank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina, throughout the afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course, wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times, no, you're mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there's a small smear of blood on the disc. Ah, yes, resulting from abrasion of the thumb, perhaps? That's right, the surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of the skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also, in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must! Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now? You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take this from the defendant? Order! Well, Mr. Graydon? It would appear that there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not intend to take the disc as you put it. No, quite the reverse. I will suddenly say that I was at the shop. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own at a pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Although I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. There's a note under this saying for McGilder, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gathering, on the day in question. I proceeded at once into the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police, because it wasn't yours. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. It's not yours. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGill, did you say the famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a decently messy murder. Yes, my lord, the one and the same. Good lord, Mr. Graydon! Are you saying that Mr. McGill and yourself are acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Hola! Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear the name or to hear my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, this was placed on pawn on the fateful night 2 months ago. 2 nights ago. McGill himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windybanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared out there in Windybanks in order to get his hands on McGill's disc for some reason. Counsel, you'll commence the cross-examination, please. Alright. Cross-examination.
Hold it!
Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary. You are certainly extinguishing inquisitively dressed, sir. So you see, I have little need to make use of services provided by the public trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse to a sudden errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. It didn't even fit you, it's not even yours, it's too small. You claimed that was your overcoat? Obviously, and in my haste I clean forgot that the music box disc was in his pocket. I feel like we had the same argument back at the pawnbrokery, and yet there's a note on it that reads for McGilded. I am a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGill at the Gentleman's Club in the city and was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area. So, the disc in question. It's a pre-production sample. Pre-production. I promised to let Mr. McGill hear it. But then you forgot that was in the pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because McGill had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear, this is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being. It's probably going to come up later.
Hold it!
So you're saying that Mrs. Starr lifted the ticket from her pocket or her bag? That's right, despite being mindful of danger or walking in an insalubrious areas her kind frequent.
Objection!
Mrs. Starr did no such thing. Why would she want a music box disc? Well, of course you would take the stance, but the girl's a regular offender. You came to the pawnbroker that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her, that's what brought you to Windybanks. To get your hands on Mr. McGild's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense? I concur with the prosecution. You have no evidence. Counsel, your friend were conjecturing in this way, is that clear? Yes, my lord. Then I will continue with the testimony for what was to be used it can be.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to Windybanks before? Only once for the purposes of pawning something, but like many I enjoy browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her, is that correct? Had taken your ticket? I don't know, there's so many T words there. Yes, that's right, I didn't notice at first, of course, such is the art of the pick purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbroker at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was right in mine in the first place. Arg, he can say what he likes because he knows he had no evidence to contradict him on this.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right, this is the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has a connection with Gilded as evidence. Would you like to say something?
Excuse me!
Excuse me. Is something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? The last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it all. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilda's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine. What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets. Yes, exactly. You should all know all about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life, yet he had a dark side too. Where are you going with this, Francis? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough! Paupers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about, that's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lawrence Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Star's pauper first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Grex and Lord Van Zeeks here. Well, it appears that the inspectors revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord, I shall gladly continue to lie.
Hold it!
But perhaps he's seen something of value among the forfeited items? No, not at all. Oh. Whoops. A van was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop, without exception. Every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that he broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilda's desk. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it was seized by the police that afternoon. It was no more in the shop that night than I, as I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. So there's nothing in Mr. McGilda's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. Bruno, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see the irritating, assured expression of his crumble. McGilda slipped the disc to his coat pocket and had it deposited at Winniebank's. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it, with this line just pearly white teeth. The police are obviously after anything left behind with McGilda as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc to custody that day. But Grexy's being very strange about all this. There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. Okay.
Objection!
This disc was deposited at Winniebank's on Magnus McGilda's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Because, like, the redemption ticket was in the box at Winniebank's shop, and then, so I think he had a reason to take that, so he could take the disc later. Conjecture again. And in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbroker again that night.
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true. What? Mr. McGilda had an article in pawn at Winniebank's, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ah! There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilda in Winniebank's pawnbrokery, and the reason broke into the shop that I discovered their second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ah! This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Oh yeah, the freaking box! They were there to get it. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbroker with these clowns in order to steal some tricking box? I think you're the biggest clown here, Mr. Graydon. Honk honk. I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. Well, there would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. You need the redemption ticket so you could get the box. That's a good point. Indeed, the business makes a solid argument. So that means that for some reason, this Graydon felony in the small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Fanseeks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument that the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box is taken from Windy Bank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Good gracious! Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints are taken from one of the detective's security cameras. Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorders again. As previously explained, using this plan at the shop layout. The victims establishing some furniture automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Winniebank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles are placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, we got a small box to forfeit already. 2 days for the incident, 9 p.m. on the 13th April. Okay, I don't know why, but the freaking the game just like cut off all of a sudden. So I'm just like, what? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Like I don't know why it was like that, but whatever. Okay, that's done. 11 p.m. on 15th April. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And then here I have another print. This one's taking about 2 hours after the incident. Oops, I think I should like lower the audio for me because it's like pretty loud. 10? Yeah, I guess 10 would do. Sorry for the delays. Like I'm still like confused about why the game just suddenly cut out like that. I guess I gotta edit that part out, I guess. Okay, I see. We have 2 pictures to compare. No, I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, as Scotland Yard, we consider that as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility of something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your man have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector. Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. And the yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number present in both. In other words, nothing was taken by the pawnbroker on the night in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Arrgh! I don't believe it. If I could just have shown that he's stolen McGilda's pawn box, I might have been able to break him down at last. You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these 2 photographs really are exactly the same. What? So, Counsel, in the light of evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that in fact on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? Okay, like, now I'm like kind of being worried, like maybe my microphone is like slower or faster than the gameplay. Oh gosh, like I don't know why I worry about these things so much, like even though everything's like going well for the video, but oh well. This gal just worries so much during recording. Okay, could there be some hidden discrepancy in these 2 photograph prints somewhere? I'm gonna use a piece of evidence. We're gonna use the stethoscope. Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something if I may. Try something? What do you mean, Counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy. I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which piece of evidence do you intend to use to help you identify discrepancy between the 2 prints? The stethoscope. Where is it? Stereoscope, not the stethoscope. I like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Oh, yes, you caught the good bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You got the cross-eyed compulsion. I am sure, number 3. What a surprise. Come on, Bruno. Let's put the pictures in place to see what this wonderful contraption shows us. Okay. There we go. Now look through the eyepiece. There's a little box. I wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in question for the core console. Indicate the precise location of discrepancy of which you speak. Over here. This little glowing box over here. Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there's one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different, the location of the small box. Let me wait. Unbelievable. By Jove, you're right, how extraordinary! What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGilda's small box is indeed not stolen from Windybanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originated deposited with Mr. McGilda is in fact? Yes, the very small, same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection.
Mindless guesswork, what if it was? So a box is moved on the shelf, nothing was stolen, which means quite simply that nothing has changed. What if they moved the little box so they could like take the item that was in the box? They wouldn't necessarily have taken the box, they would have just taken the item in the box. That may be true, but alright, McGilda's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that changes things? It changes everything. They took the item that was in the box because boxes stores things. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, they had to consider what might have been inside the box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. I like how Bazix has like sharp teeth or something. It kind of looks like a shark. A vital piece of evidence sitting on the shelves at Windybanks as we speak.
Objection.
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. Then why would they break into the shop just to like freaking take the item for the box? The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeeks. Baliv, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks? This is nothing but a smokescreen. A Nipponi specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning. That this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilda from a pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. But you don't know what was in the box, Van Zeeks. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to pick it in place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGill perished 2 months ago immediately after the conclusion of this trial, a trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense. The articles his upstanding members of society upon were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of his pockets and a small ball. Whoops, I just had like a brain fart. Then why are you so inclined to take disc, huh? I assure you I wouldn't accept it even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make a lot of sense. Not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Though goodness knows Mr. McGill was rich enough. I got cash, hard working, quite certain of that. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster his argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles called by this fine citizen could have. Well, Counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case? Well, what's the matter, Bruno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know Miss Gilda's true character. I know that this is significant, even if we don't know why. But if we explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGill's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no! And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. But Jenny... Could it be that Fancy knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything? But maybe... This could be a great opportunity for us. Sorry? What do you mean ours? Well, what is it that you always say, Bruno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out every time. Alright, the exact significance of the things that McGill deposited with Mr. Winniebank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. But we need to do this. For the case to continue, what's the right thing to do here? Have Gina testify. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGill's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Estrada, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited when he based on Mr. McGill, my lord. Mr. Estrada's information related to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused standing, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Fancy, would you care to explain the last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, we have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Your witness is currently standing. Step down until further notice. Then I shall bid you good day. Your hat isn't still in the trash can, by the way. Wait. You, sir, shall remain to stand while Mr. Starr testifies. As you wish. Alright then, Gina, it's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your face in me here. Good luck, Bruno. The articles of Mr. McGill deposited in Winniebank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing to say the least, and now here we all are again, the same players in the trial facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponi's friend. Allow me to recount the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged, that the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being thrown to the sky into the carriage below. It was Mrs. Starr whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Mrs. Starr was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, as indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of these proceedings. Mrs. Stroud. Would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all I want to know. I know. Whoops. And what about everything told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Mrs. Stroud, this is extremely important. But... Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose. Ginny, don't listen to him! Please, you have to trust Yuno now. Iris? We're on your side. Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess I'm starting to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it appeared that Mr. McGilded's pawn articles in this distorting case of the omnibus, harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Mr. Starr, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity story lacking in your original statements. This is it then, everything's going to come out. Like Van Zeke said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Truth is, the brickmaker Cole was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under seat, saw the disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream over me head and the pair of the roof deck went out to call the stops. That's when McGilded slipped the diver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I seen or heard. Good grief, this is outrageous! What you just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago. As you say, my lord. Then, there's a separate chance. I may have adjudicated an error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived his court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes. Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial of this witness and my learned friend are entirely inexcusable. I don't believe it! The whole trial is a farce, is all lies. The beginning fellows right in the car. Don't forget the Lord for the Easter all in together. You're wrong, the lot of you. Mr. Naruto, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it. Humbug! I don't think so. I really expected to believe that. They really stitched everything up, man. What an operation. Got the man off scot-free. Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGilda's pawn articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. You're not calling me Nipponese friend? Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth learning. Words fail me, this situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I'll decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. You will go to jail. Of course, my lord. Believe me, Mr. Naruhodo. Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Oh boy. Here we go.
Hold it!
And you're hiding the cabin at the time of Soul, weren't you, Mrs. Strahd? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats? Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under this, so you can't see nothing at all. Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that Mr. McGilda was the postal passenger, did you not? False testimony, my lord. That's what he told me I had to say. But it's important that I tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilda and the victim acquaintances? I don't know, but I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying. Perhaps business dealings of some kind. Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe, and all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone kneeling over on the floor, booming loud and all. And I believe it had an involuntary scream. Yeah, that's what gave me away.
Hold it!
Was it this you saw this? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove lying on the floor. Could this have belonged to the victim, perhaps? I don't know, but McGilda picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat in the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at the time? He told me not to say a word about what I seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions, like what my name was and where I lived and all that. He asked me about being a diver too. But after a while, what happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First, there was some kind of rapping noise.
Hold it!
There were 2 gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. They must have looked down to the sky and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled the horses and Miguel got me out of sight. Out of sight? Where? Back under the seat where I started off. What are these 2 doing? What the frick? Once the carriage gate did all, the 2 colts on the roof ran out to fetch the slops. If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGilda, the driver, knew still on the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cab door open and voices were outside. The driver, yes, he also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. Beppo! What did McGilda and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happens, stuff like that mainly.
Hold it!
The pawn shop obviously being Windybanks on Baker Street. Just a moment, Consul. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony at trial as well? He sure did. Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbroker slipped his mind when he was understand. Indeed, Lord Van Zieks. McGilda took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do it, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it is going to be worth a few bob. Yes, Gino sure that this must be worth more than Mr. Winnipeg was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember quibbling with it over the price option at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when McGilda flashed some brass in his face. He went running off by the lick. Then the bog trotter called to me and told me to come over to Jack's cabin.
Hold it!
Threatened you by how exactly? Told me I'd only be able to scarf for exactly what he said. Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago. Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said. Which was... He told me I had to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it. The ticket? Well, I never. Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop, pay the money to keep it in luck to stop it being forfeited. He let me use some brass to pay for it. But really, why on earth would Mr. McGill have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with the pawnbroker before the ride of police makes no sense at all. There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGill did had to drive a deposit at Winniebanks has something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that I need to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I waited before the copper showed up. Well done, Gina. Can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. Gina's already put her face in you, you know. Yes, and to take her, she'll have to face the charge of perjury once the trial is over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible. It's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement. I suppose I should. Oh, and another thing. What's that? Take a look at the suit. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other the entire time? Yes, that's strange. They have a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. What is anything gonna do about it? Okay, I think I'll just like press them and then like I'll pursue. Like I'm just gonna like pursue these two.
Excuse me!
Is this something I have to share with the court, Inspector Graydon and Mr. Graydon? Inspector! Mr. Graydon! What? Believe me, you trying to give me a heart attack? Yeah, I've been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion? With this fella? Then pulled out of my sunshine. You think a guy talking to shady gent like this? You were literally whispering to each other. I had nothing to say. This uncalled detector deprived me of the that was rightfully mine. But they're clearly been talking the entire time but cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating. Thank you, Mrs. Starr. Thank you, Cos. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired in the omnibus. It would appear on the night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this, however, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilda took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. This is clearly extremely valuable in some way, although I don't understand why as yet. And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilda's coat and his contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the coat died right after his trial, I knew that. So I decided to try to claim the articles as your own. Well, why not, eh? They were only going to be forfeited. Why would I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime. Mrs. Strahd, it appeared Mr. McGill was prepared to kill in order to take the position it's this. Do you know why that would be? Eh? I ain't got no clue. But it kinda must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was gonna sell it. And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime. My lord. The evidence in relation to record is read for court prospectus. The mysterious little box deposited by McGill 2 months ago. there's no doubt in my mind. That's the key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Continue. Actually continued this time. I was actually kind of thinking of playing some Shin Megami Tensei 5 after this, after this recording.